Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Sit Downs with Charlie Brown. I am DJ Charlie Brown, or Charlie Groper, or whatever you choose to call me. And today, everyone, it is currently July 12th at the date I'm recording this episode, so that means there can be only one reason you are hearing my lovely voice. It is the MLB All-Star break, and a lot's been happening in the baseball world this year. A lot of ups, a lot of downs happening across all the baseball parks across of America. As the eyes of the baseball world start to shift their focus to all the festivities going on in Atlanta this upcoming week, let's take a peek at how everyone's been doing up so far. Moving over to the AL East, the Baltimore Orioles. So this season has kind of sucked like a lot. You sure you're okay, Baltimore? Because based off what I'm seeing, you guys are clearly showing some alarming red flags. Like many people, we thought that this was going to be the year that they broke out and became contenders. There have been a lot of issues this season that are terrifying to look at. Henderson has been fine, but Rutschman's been struggling with injuries and ineffectiveness. Mountcastle and O'Hearn have been great pieces, and Jackson Holliday is living up to the potential that made him a first overall pick. That's where the positives end, as everyone else is regressing at the plate. However, the big story with the O's this season is how bad their pitching is. Turns out that replacing Corbin Burns with Charlie Morton was a mistake. He had an ERA over 7 at one point. Translation, that's no bueno. Grayson Rodriguez has really been dealing with injuries. Kramer and Elfin have been duds, and the other guys are too green to carry their workload. Tomoyuki Sugano has been a great revelation this year, but he should not be their top starter right now. Right now, the O's have been nosediving majority of the year, and it's getting to the point where I don't know if they're going to be able to salvage this in time. Their manager, Brandon Hyde, was already axed to be the scapegoat for this year, but it's not going to fix anything. The fire is already starting to come at GM Mike Elias's feet, not with how the season has gone, but keep in mind that nobody from their core is locked up long-term, meaning Gunnar Henderson, Adley Rutschman, a lot of those young guys who they've drafted in the first round over the years. Baltimore clearly has the pieces in place, but they need to make changes before it's too late. Meanwhile, your rivals are going to continue running circles around you in the meantime. The Boston Red Sox. An enormous salt mine is starting to form in Beantown, and it is for a very good reason. Their strong April and early May has left them sinking back down the AL East standings. Even if they have been on a good hot streak, it's not the main story with this team. It's not all bad, as Bregman, Jarren Duran, Trevor Story, and Wellier Abreu have been having great years at the dish. However, losing Yoshida for a bit and Casas for the year has been really bad for them. Ceddanne Rafaela has also been very good, and Roman Anthony finally made his anticipated debut. While pitching has also been good out of Crochet, Bayo, and more, that's not what's getting talked about. Remember the Mookie Betts trade that they did? It happened again. Rafael Devers, a longtime Red Sox and the last remaining piece of the 2018 championship run, is officially gone. Traded to the Giants for a bulk return of pitchers and prospects. Obviously, it was well known that Devers was stubborn with not wanting to move to first base and was terrible defensively at third, but it's not a good mood optically if I'm looking at it, especially since they made the trade following the Yankees series where they got the victory over them. The Red Sox are acting like a small market club when they have no reason to be doing that. For years, they've always been the team that has gone toe-to-toe with the Yankees in terms of spending, and now it just seems like they're scared to make those moves again. All the while this is going on, the rumors about guys like Duran being traded are being spread like wildfire throughout the baseball world. Sadly, Boston, I would embrace another dark age of baseball. Be comforted with the number of titles as you proceed to sink to the bottom. The New York Yankees. About what's to be expected from the current lineup that they have. While they currently got knocked out of the top spot in the AL East, last year's loss in the World Series has not stopped the Yankee revenge tour. All rise as Judge continues to hit like a man possessed in his quest for unlimited power. Their reclamation projects in Cody Bellinger and Paul Goldschmidt have been excellent as well. They're even doing what I agree with many Yankees fans for years. They're starting to play their youth. Turns out that Ben Rice, Austin Wells, and Jason Dominguez are really good if you give them actual playing time. You would think that the pitching would be bad considering Garrett Cole is still shelved for the year, but turns out Max Fried unlocked a different level and Carlos Rodon is back to his old form. Complemented by a decent bullpen, the Bronx knows the goal. Number 28 by any means necessary. All the while, baseball cheers for the inevitable downfall. However, even for the success, there is one thing with the Yankees that is required every year, and it's a whipping boy. DJ LeMahieu was bad, but putting him out to pasture for being a cancer to the Yankee Armada is just like every other instance with Chapman, with Joey Gallo, with how many other guys. Yeah, I'm calling you guys out. You guys are going to turn on Judge one of these days, I swear. The Tampa Bay Rays. If you're a Rays fan, you are essentially over the moon with this season. Even in a minor league stadium, there's still a lot more to be excited about. They have some good hitters in Jonathan Aranda, Junior Caminario, and Yandy Diaz. I would mention Ha-Seong Kim, but he's been injured for a good bit of the season. The pitching rotation's been a solid group of Zach Little, Taj Bradley, Ryan Pepoit, Shane Baz, and Drew Rasmussen. Especially since Shane McClanahan has been injured, it's been a massive boost to see from this group. The bullpen is actually one of the best in baseball, which has been an even more surprising thing this year. However, despite all this, Rays fans are on the brink of popping champagne bottles. Stuart Sternberg has finally caved and is in talks with selling the team to Patrick Zapinski and his group of investors. This isn't just a victory for them if it goes through, but baseball as a whole, knowing his cheap ass is on the brink of getting canned. Hopefully they can finally have a real team, and hopefully not be forced to play in a dump like the Trop or a Spring League field. The Toronto Blue Jays. Surprisingly, the Blue Jays are not underachieving like they did all of last year. Even if they still need to show up come playoff time, the fact they have surged back this year is a massive positive, especially considering they are now sitting at the top of the AL East. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is once again hitting the cover off the ball like his dad before him. Considering he was given a 14-year contract worth $500 million to become the face of their franchise, he better be hitting like that. Backed by George Springer, Alejandro Kirk, Ernie Clement, and more, it is a very potent hitting core. Pitching has been good with the three-headed monster of Gausman, Barrios, and Bassett. The bullpen is actually not blowing games like they did all of last season. However, for all this is going on, the main thing that they're concerned about is Bo Bichette. He's due for a contract extension, and he is having a very good season, and rumors he might be on the trade block are getting a little warm. Toronto has to make a decision regardless with him, and if they feel they're ready to go or not. Be careful, boys. You don't want to end up like the Toronto Maple Leafs. The Chicago White Sox. It's not nearly as bad as last year. That's been the main thing I've noticed with the Sox, and about one of the biggest positives I can say, even as a fan of a division rival. At this point, I think Southside will take it considering last year's product. It's no secret that the White Sox are anticipating another deep rebuild and trying to clean up last year's wreckage. While it's still bad, they at least have some positives as opposed to last year where everything was terrible. The youngsters in Lenny Sosa, Chase Meredith, Miguel Vargas have all been quality at the plate this year. Two of their top prospects in Kyle Teel and Colton Montgomery have made their debuts and have been solid at the plate. Shane Smith is also having a solid year on the mound for being a rookie as well. Sadly, that's where all the positives end, if I'm being real. A lot of the other bats are injured or struggling, along with they have no idea on the concept of what a starting rotation or bullpen is. While they have pieces, they don't have more. That's about it. While they do have prospects on the way, it's nowhere near going to fix this wreckage. In the meantime, they will continue to roll the tanks down the streets in their quest for top draft picks. However, as they're doing that, the hard times are going to be turning a corner very soon. Justin Ishiba is officially becoming the new savior of Southside, as Jerry Reinsdorf is going to be going through a sale with him. While it's going to take a while for the actual sale to be processed until 2029, 2034, it's a sign of hope. All the while, the AL Central will weep by this news. The Cleveland Guardians. It's been a roller coaster season for the Guardians this year, and not in the fun way. They started out okay, hovering towards the top of the division, but then they went on a massive skid and just completely cratered down in the standings after losing 10 in a row. Their offense is literally Jose Ramirez, Steven Kwan, and the last gasp of Carlos Santana's career, resulting in them not having a positive run differential for most of the year. While they have a ton of young guys who are still cost control, nothing has emerged to move the needle other than the three I listed. Pitching hasn't been optimal, as everyone in their starting pitching is hovering over an ERA of 3 or higher. The bullpen is even more Russian roulette, as Emmanuel Clase keeps blowing leads. It even gets worse as Luis Ortiz chose to be an idiot and gets suspended for gambling on games. I know in the past they've been able to keep afloat, but I'm concerned. Barring like 8 different miracles and everything going right, they need a Herculean effort to get to the wild card game. Now, as I say this, watch them pull out more BS because they live to torment me. The Detroit Tigers. One word. How? I need answers from this group. You mean to tell me that a team that for years was middling suddenly is dominating the American League? These guys must be listeners into this show because they clearly took my skepticism as a challenge. The Tigers are a legit contending team that has a shot of doing the impossible, even if it hurts to say as a divisional rival. Riley Green and Kerry Carpenter are picking up where they left off last year. Spencer Torkelson has got his stuff together. The addition of Gleyber Torres has looked good. Heck, they even managed to fix Javi Baez as he's back to hitting like his old form when he was in Chicago. Their pitching staff is headlined by the god amongst men in Tyreek Skubal, having another Cy Young caliber season backed by his teammates Jack Flaherty and Casey Mize. The downside is they did lose Jackson Jobe to Tommy John and likely being another dud of a prospect. However, a lights-out bullpen helps ease the sting, allowing Detroit to surge to the top of the American League. While many people, myself included, wonder if ownership has enough to invest at the deadline, it is still a positive for a team that many thought was dead for years. The Gritty Tigs are developing into the Monstars of Michigan. Buckle up, baseball. The Motown Menace is back. The Kansas City Royals. It's been a bit of a struggling year for the Royals as they're still looking to break out. Not for anything they're doing wrong, just tough to do with how the AL has been looking this year. Bobby Witt Jr. is still proving why he's one of the best players in baseball. The hitting core is actually very solid with Vinny Pasquantino, Salvador Perez, Maikel Garcia, Mike Massey, and Jonathan India. They even called up their top prospect in Jack Caglione, who is likely to help be a part of their future core and endeavors going forward. Their pitching has been severely underrated with Bubic bouncing back, Walker and Lugo picking up from last year, and Noah Cameron coming up and playing lights out. Complemented by a sturdy bullpen, they are a very complete team compared to other squads. The main thing that they lack is consistency. Overall, I think they can buy at the deadline, but I think realistically, they need to figure out their consistency going into the dog days. If they are able to compete, they should be fine and be in a playoff spot. Check back later. The Minnesota Twins. Don't get your hopes up, Charlie. Don't you dare. We've been down this road several times over the years, and it's never ended well. To start the season, April was a literal mess. Losing skids abound, attendance figures in the reds, and overall Minnesotan rage starting to boil. Winning cures a lot of ailments. Guess what the Twins did? They went on a 13-game tear to get back into the race, which was then preceded by a bad June that ultimately led to a white-hot July. Even if Lewis is nowhere near the same player he's been as usual due to injuries and regression, the main story this year, Byron Buxton. Even if their top pick, Royce Lewis, has really been struggling due to injuries and regression, the hitting core has been surprisingly productive. Byron Buxton, in a season where he's been healthy for the most part, has been on an all-star level tear. And I'm not even joking. Hitting home runs with his bat, speeding around the bases for steals. Even today, he just hit 5 for 5 and got a cycle for the first time ever in Target Field history. It also comes with the added bonus that he is competing in the Home Run Derby this year, which, by the way, over here we are Team Buxton all the way. Come on, Buck, bring home the trophy! On top of him, it's also good because Correa, Larnach, Lee, and Moore have really been adding to his quest. The additions of Harrison Bader and Ty France have been outstanding. Heck, Philly was giving away Cody Clemens for free, and he immediately came over to the Twins and is hitting the best he's ever in his career. However, where they've been struggling this year has been on the pitching side of things, which has usually been their strength. Joe Ryan has been awesome, but Bailey Ober has been having a nightmare season due to issues in his hip and got placed on the IL. Chris Paddock was tapping into his old form for about a week before he tapered off. I'd mentioned Pablo Lopez, but he sadly got shelved till August because God can't give us any nice things. The bullpen has also been playing lights out with Colombe, Duran, Varland, Sands, and Moore all contributing in high-leverage roles. However, even for all the positives, I still need to remind myself that there are still things to worry about. Like I mentioned with guys like Lopez, injuries are starting to pile up, and you can't keep relying on the Greenhorns to carry the workload. Will they actually do something productive at the deadline to avoid another collapse? Fans are still apathetic towards the Pohlads and want them to sell the team, which rumor is the deal's being in the works, though I don't know what the status is on that. Regardless, right now, I just need to ride the wave, and that'll be enough. Don't break my heart again, or else I will drown my sorrows in Diet Coke for all summer. The Houston Astros. The Astros season so far has been in two parts. Even for their shaky April, it left them surging back to the top of the AL West. Jeremy Pena is hitting like a stud and a half. Altuve and Jordan continue to be the leaders of this team. Walker, Paredes, Diaz, rookie Cam Smith, and Myers are contributing to an even more growing Astro machine. So what's the second part? Their May and June have been absolute nightmares. Several of their key hitters from Myers, McCormick, Pena, and Jordan have spent the All-Star break in the shop. Their pitching rotation is all but dead, to the point where they are employing beer leaguers and guys at TCU to pitch games for them. While the bullpen is very strong, it's going to need reinforcements if they want to make it back to the dance in time. Especially when durability is being brought into question with the August gauntlet approaching and more injuries starting to add up. Time will tell on that front, but get ready, baseball. They aren't going to go quiet. The Los Angeles Angels. I don't care that they're middle of the pack right now. This team hasn't changed in my eyes. The Angels are once again reinforcing that they are merely second fiddle to the Dodgers and frustrating on all accounts. Even if he has not looked his best, Mike Trout is finally healthy and showing why he's a lock for the Hall of Fame when he calls it a career. Nolan Schammel, Kyron Paris, and Logan O'Hoppe are tearing the cover off the ball to be future pieces of this team. Taylor Ward, Jorge Soler, Joe Adell, and Luis Rengifo are supplementing them. But then we get to their pitching, which turns out going cheap didn't work, like they try every year. Besides the big acquisition of Yusei Kikuchi, nothing's panned out. The rest is a mixed bag between middling and absolutely cooked. Then we get to their bullpen, imitating a literal whale in the ocean as there she blows. It hurts more knowing that they are having troubles with their managing situation as well. Ron Washington, unfortunately, had to go on medical leave for the remainder of the year. Prayers out for him, and hope he's doing better wherever he's at right now. Once again, all the season's problems go up to the top in Artie Moreno. Even if they are mid-tier, do you expect them to buy at the deadline and go for it? Because it certainly worked out the last time it did. I look forward to the inevitable collapse and another year of Mike Trout's career wasted. Good work, Angels. Good work. The Oakland A's. I still refuse to call this team anything other than the Oakland A's. If John Fisher wants to sue me, so be it. That being said, there is positives to talk about with this team. Brent Rooker and Lawrence Butler have been living up to their contracts. Tyler Soderstrom, Jacob Wilson, Shea Langeliers, and J.J. Bleday are breaking out as future pieces. That's about where it all ends for them, though, as the pitching is brutal. Severino, Springs, and Sears have all been getting shelled in the rotation. Their bullpen has a combined ERA over 6, which is horrifying. Mason Miller went from a dynamic closer to likely getting traded for peanuts at the deadline. However, that's not where the real story about them is this year. Reports from several players are saying that they are already hating playing in Sacramento due to field conditions and feeling soulless in that stadium. Reminder that the A's are playing here till 2027, so now they get that along with the terrible attendance figures. Hope you're enjoying this, John Fisher. You reap what you sow, buddy. The Seattle Mariners. The disappointment in Seattle will continue until morale improves. To be fair, they've actually been really good and were leading the division throughout April and May. But sadly, old habits die hard with a subpar June that left them being usurped of their top spot. J-Rod, Randy Arozarena, and my pick for AL MVP in Cal Raleigh are destroying baseballs. J.P. Crawford was able to find some of the magic he had in 2011 to become one of the team's best hitters for a good bit. The supporting cast of Jorge Polanco, Mitch Garver, and more continue to supplement. The pitching has even been outstanding as Brian Woo's continuing his development, Luis Castillo putting up gems, and rookie Logan Evans looking solid. I'd mention George Kirby, but he's been kind of having a nightmare season. The bullpen isn't the strongest, but works with an extra piece or two. However, even for all this, I will remain more tempered on the M's than in past years. Every time we think they are ready, they break our hearts into a million pieces. Prove me wrong, boys! The Texas Rangers. The more time passed, the more I think you guys sold your soul to win it all in 23. I get it, because it worked, but still. The Rangers went from being a potential powerhouse to terrible in the span of 2 years. The The first month was horrifying as they were piling up losses and had one of the worst hitting teams in baseball. While firing the hitting coach has helped, it's not led to much. Marcus Semien, Adolis Garcia, Wyatt Langford, Corey Seager, and other pieces are okay, but nothing game-changing. It sucks more even knowing that they have an actually healthy Jacob deGrom, Tyler Mahle, and Nathan Eovaldi to contribute this year. The bullpen isn't ideal, but nothing is considered to be a concern yet. While they recently have been surgering, it still makes me cautious. They got a lot of ground to catch, and I don't know if they can do it. The Rangers have a chance, but it's going to need to be with a ton of work in the dog days of summer. Get busy, boys. You don't want the fluke narratives to get traction. The Atlanta Braves. What the actual heck is going on with the Braves? A team that everyone had penciled in as a contender this year has alarm bells ringing left and right. They started out the gate sluggish and have been tumbling ever since. Opening the gate 0-7, were finally able to get to 500 in late, only to crumble again with another losing skid. The hitting isn't a big issue, as Acuna is slowly returning back to his old form. Riley, Ozzie Albies, Michael Harris II, Matt Olson, and more have been really complimented hitters as well. From my perspective, pitching's been killing the Braves this year. The best guy in that rotation is 36-year-old Chris Sale. Spencer Strider has been struggling immensely since returning from Tommy John. A.J. Smith-Scheuer actually ended up needing Tommy John. Bryce Elder is still getting shelled. It's a disaster. It's even more worse since the bullpen doesn't have much opportunities to get saves. And when they do get them, they blow them. I don't know what you do with the Braves at this point with the core locked up long term. It looks like this season's a wash and changes need to be made. However, watch now as I just jinx them and they pull off the magic of 2022 all over again. The Miami Marlins. About what was kind of expected from the Marlins coming into this year. The team is once again going under another massive rebuild because of bad ownership and trying to shed a lot of bad culture over the years. Then again, they're doing better than expected and have some nice pieces for the future. Kyle Stowers has become a legit steal after trading Trevor Rogers to Baltimore. He's become one of the best hitters and likely a core piece of the future, as well as Connor Norby. Their homegrown pieces in Xavier Edwards and Eric Wiegman have been great at the plate this year. However, that's where all the positive ends, as the pitching staff and bullpen is still under major construction. Besides Max Meyer's emergence, it's not really anything good to talk about. Alcantara is likely out the door, Quantrill's a mess, and it's full of a lot of rookies who are still developing to find their footing in the show. That being said, it's at least more than what was expected of them going into this year. While they're likely going to be sellers again, it's not a total dumpster fire. Considering other teams, there will take it. The New York Mets. The Mets are finally living up to the expectations that everyone placed on them this year. When you start spending all that money in the offseason, you need to. Yes, I am fully aware that right now they are sinking into their old habits, but it's not at the critical stages yet. However, you guys might want to start this thing called scoring. I know that a lot of them are flipping out over Soto, but you guys need to relax. Considering what he's done this year, it's actually been very good to have him, even if he is very expensive. The likes of Alonso, Vientos, Nimmo, Lindor, and more have really been contributing to this year. Kodai Senga, Clay Holmes, and David Peterson have been a strong three-headed monster in the rotation. As for the bullpen, best to kind of look away. Besides Edwin Diaz, they really don't have much of anything. They will need reinforcements, but it's a good foundation to have and easily should be in a position to load up at the deadline. That being said, I will keep my expectations low. Mostly because this is how it works for them, and I need to keep that alive. If not, they're going to be memed to death. The Philadelphia Phillies. What about you expect from the Phillies at this point? While not in contention for the division, still a team that should be playoff bound. Trey Turner, Kyle Schwarber, and more are launching baseballs into the bleachers across America. Alec Boehm went from being one of the most hated guys and someone Philly wanted traded to having an outstanding campaign. Eternal meme lord Nick Castellanos continues to live up to his nickname, the Tragedy Man. Essentially, he homered both on the day the Pope passed away and the infamous breakup. I'm not going to leave any context to what you think that is. What's stranger is that they are thriving without Bryce Harper, who has been shelved for a good bit. While Aaron Nola has struggled in their rotation and has been injured, obviously, Zach Wheeler, Jesus Luzardo, and Christopher Sanchez have been able to support him and give them a very strong three-headed monster in the rotation. However, their big issue with the Phillies is their bullpen. Jose Alvarado was suspended for being on Ozempic. Yes, that actually does count as a violation. I know, it's weird, but it does. All the while, they keep having guys blowing leads and keeping the Phillies from leveling up. If I would get ready if I were Philly, you need to buy at the deadline. Dombrowski, get shopping. You need a bullpen and you need it quick. The Washington Nationals. Sadly, it's been the norm for the Nats lately. While they still suck a lot, there's a lot of work to be done, and there's a ton of buzz that's happening in the nation's capital recently with a lot of good positives. Their future core is looking really solid as James Wood, Jose Tena, Robert Hassel III, and Luis Garcia Jr. are looking like awesome big leaguers and could be very nice future pieces. Keibert Ruiz, CJ Abrams, Nathan Lau, and Josh Bell are putting in solid campaigns. While Dylan Cruz has still been struggling to break out, it's only his first year in the show. It's going to take a little time. While the pitching staff is still trying to develop and their bullpen is a gas can, it's still positives to see. However, ownership, I think, really wanted to make a change, which resulted in a drastic move that happened recently. Both GM Mike Rizzo and skipper Dave Martinez were let go from their respective roles. It sucks, but I can get their argument as the team really just isn't improving, and they want a new set of eyes with the first overall pick likely going to be en route this year. Well, this is not going to be the year. It's getting close. Just keep at it, boys. You're getting there. The Chicago Cubs. See, this is what the Cubs should be capable of doing on a consistent basis instead of falling into the vice of underachieving. A team that should cruise to the top of the NL Central with ease and a favorite to take the division. Begin the Peter Crow Armstrong breakout hour. Dazzling plays with both the glove and stick that Northside has been dying to see for years. With Kyle Tucker on his right and Seiya Suzuki on his left, it is an incredibly strong outfield that should anchor that team for years to come. It also helps with Dansby Swanson finding his old form, along with Ian Happ, Nico Horner, and Michael Busch being solid contributors. Their pitching rotation is the death triangle of Shota Imanga, Jamison Tyone, and Matthew Boyd continuing his form from Cleveland. The bullpen has been an incredibly strong unit that hasn't given up much of anything to the opposition so far. That being said, the Cubbies know the goal. If they collapse and fail again, they will be memed to death like a lot of other teams. Especially with a certain division rival gaining fast. You got this, right? Right? The Cincinnati Reds. It's every year with you guys. Can you please not be so inconsistent? Tito is a Hall of Famer and a great manager, but he can only do so much. Every time they get hot, they end up being swept to balance it out. Ellie De La Cruz is ridiculously frustrating as he can tear the cover off the ball and speed around the base pass, but has a massive strikeout issue. TJ Friedl and Gavin Lux have been great, but Matt McClain and Spencer Steer have kind of regressed. The pitching staff has been a mixed bag, with Hunter Green being injured, Brady Singer falling off, and Nick Martinez being absolutely cooked. The bullpen is decent, but their only reliable arm in Alexis Diaz got a one-way ticket to the Dodgers. He was rough, but he was still kind of vital for the long-term future. The Reds have hit a wall, and I don't know how you fix it at this point, given how ownership tends to act. At this point, it's just praying the breakthrough happens sooner as opposed to later. The Milwaukee Brewers. It took them a bit, but they have finally gotten back into the race after a sluggish start. Surprising considering all the doubts that were placed on them going into the year. Jackson Chourio, Sal Frelick, Bryce Trang, and more are hitting like gangbusters. Rhys Hoskins, Wilson Contreras, and Christian Yelich have been respectable at the plate this year as well. However, their pitching is the main talk of the town right now. Not just with Freddie Peralta having a respectable year that should get him a couple Cy Young votes, but more so their youngsters that are finally reaching the shores. Jacob Murowski, Chad Patrick, and Quentin Priester have become diamonds in the rough for a depleted staff. Murowski nearly throwing a perfect game in his second career start. Lately, the luster has worn off, but the fact that they are showing massive signs this early is amazing. While it is true Savale had a bad season and got traded to the White Sox along with Nestor Cortez getting injured, they are in the right direction. However, they're going to need some bullpen help as it tends to be blowing leads from time to time. Regardless, the Brewers know what needs to be achieved. Finally shedding the demons of the past. Good luck, boys. I'm actually pulling for you. The Pittsburgh Pirates. This team frustrates me to no avail, and I'm not even a fan of them. Even for being a small market, in no way should they be running a low-end payroll and absolutely this god-awful. The issue isn't Paul Skeens. He literally has an ERA well under 2 and over 100 strikeouts on the season. It's everything around him that's the problem with the Pirates. Their best hitter is 38-year-old Andrew McCutchen. Brian Reynolds and Brian Hayes are okay, but no one has an OPS over 700. Translation, they can't get on base. Oneil Cruz is the enigma of the century. A man who has the ability to make a baseball destroy itself going out of the stadium in a flash, yet can't seem to do it on a consistent basis and has zero instincts to play center field. It's even worse because Skeens, Bailey Falter, and Andrew Heaney are the only guys in the rotation pulling their weight. Jared Jones was sacrificed to the Tommy John gods, and Mitch Keller has been disappointing as all hell. Don't even get me started on their bullpen. It's legitimately a contest of who can blow more leads on a given night. However, I should mention that they are winning something this year. They have earned the award for the most terrible PR in baseball. From disrespecting the Clemente wall with a seltzer ad, removing the Bucko bricks of donors, someone falling off the Clemente wall, and a PNC Park employee literally beating someone with their belt, it's been a disaster. To be fair, the fans spit on him, so it's kinda justified. The entire season is a literal mess. They fired Derek Shelton and replaced him with Don Kelly, but it's not stopping the Pirates. I recommend you guys watch Skeens while you chance, similar to how I did just a few days ago, because in a few years he's likely going to be gone. My thoughts and prayers to all the Yinzers out there in Pittsburgh. You guys deserve better, and I hope Bob can sell the team. The St. Louis Cardinals. So it appears that the retooling has gone okay for some part. Wasn't a fan of it to begin with, but it's okay-ish. Even for being third place, there's still some hesitancy with St. Louis's consistency. Even though there are a lot of positives to look at in their work this year. Brendan Donovan is looking for a contract in the offseason and is playing like an absolute monster and having an all-star caliber season. Nootbaar, Arenado, Contreras, and Wynn are also putting together decent years at the plate. Their top prospect in Victor Scotts II is starting to make his strides in the show. However, their big thing that they need to work on is their pitching, as it's mostly been Sonny Gray pitching out of his mind. Not that Eric Fedde, Matt Liberatore, and Andy Palante aren't bad, just not the guys you want to be relying on for the future. Same goes with the bullpen, which aside from Matz and Helsley is a saloon door most nights. While I don't think this is the year they make noise, it should be a sign for what's to come down the road. Now watch as I say this, they once again go to their magic well of devil magic and win it all. Because, St. Louis Devil Magic. The Arizona Diamondbacks. I hate saying this, but 2023 is looking more like a fluke. It's even more paramount this season, sadly. The best way to describe them is the addict who tries to get clean but can only stay sober for about a year. It's at the point where you wonder if he's even beyond help at the rate he's going. While still around 500, the D-backs are massively inconsistent and very one-sided. The hitting core has been excellent. The usual suspects of Marte, Carroll, Suarez, and Perdomo are hitting like machines. Also, side note, I support Ketel Marte. Never heckle that man, especially when you talk about someone else's mother. The trade for Josh Naylor has really been paid off as he's one of the best hitters on this team. However, what's killing them this season is their pitching and bullpen. Corbin Burns, after signing a massive deal, needed Tommy John surgery. Zach Gallen has fallen off the map. Brandon Pfaadt, the same thing. Eduardo Rodriguez, less said about him the better. Merrill Kelly is trying to carry, but he can't do it alone. It also doesn't help that their bullpen only has two modes, break and blow. Even for being second to last in the NL West, signs are trending towards another rebuild, or at least flushing out some of the depth to try and reload for the future. Especially with the other teams in their division, AZ is nowhere close to where they want to be. At least you'll have the stories of 2023. The Colorado Rockies. I went on record saying that I didn't care much for the Rockies going into this year. Looking back, I went way too easy on them. I'm not joking when this might legit be the worst team in baseball that could break the White Sox record for most losses in a single year. Dead serious, it took them till June to finally hit double-digit wins, beat a team in a series, and have been repeatedly smoked by double digits numerous times this year. This team is literally death on a baseball diamond, only existing for fans to drink away the pain and opposing players to pat their stats. You can tell me all about Hunter Goodman and Jason Beck on the team being good hitters that emerged, but also realize that McMahon, Doyle, Toglia, and nearly every bat is struggling. Aside from the random spurts here and there, along with a generational run from Tyler Freeman, it's a mess. Chris Bryant is at least being spared as he's been shelved due to injury for a good bit, and even though he's starting to return, it's not been helping. But then you get to the rotation and bullpen. Only 2 players on that team, on that side of the ball, have an ERA under 2. 12 have an ERA of 4 or higher. Everyone is literally watching as the pitchers get shelled and the balls get smacked into the opposing bleachers. You could think that all this losing would make them a lock for the draft lottery next year. That's the neat part. They don't. Due to them moving up to 4 in this year's draft, they can't pick higher than 10th in 2026. They can't even tank properly. The purge has likely started with skipper Bud Black being fired. However, it's not going to fix this car crash. The GM is still here, and like many bad owners, the Monfords don't care. However, it gets even worse as he's promoting via nepotism, entrusting his son Walker to the role of EVP. I swear this organization is a joke. Why do I waste energy on you guys? The LA Dodgers. Am I even supposed to be shocked that the Dodgers are crushing the league with an iron boot? They have the payroll to finance their own private country. This is what's to be expected. Even if they are on a massive losing streak, the Dodgers are still dominating. What more isn't even to be said that already hasn't been said on television? Their big 3 of Shohei Ohtani, Mookie Betts, and Freddie Freeman continue to lead the charge of Dodger Blue. Speaking of Shohei, he's finally been cleared from his Tommy John surgery and making his way back onto the mound. While obviously in a limited role, it's great to see that the Angels didn't fully destroy him and his generational talents. It also helps when you have Andy Pages having a breakout season, Max Muncy playing for a long-term contract, and the usual suspects of Teoscar Hernandez, Will Smith, and Michael Conforto raking at the plate. Pitching-wise, all eyes are on Yoshinobu Yamamoto as he dazzles baseballs once again. However, there is a flaw within the Dodger machine. Injuries. They are once again not being spared by the injury gods this year. Blake Snell, Blake Treinen, Kirby Yates, Broussard Graterol, Michael Kopech, Tyler Glasnow, Roki Sasaki, Emmett Sheehan, and more have had lengthy IL stints. Evan Phillips needs Tommy John and is going to be unavailable for the rest of the year. The Dodgers are down to minor leaguers and maybe even some beer leaguers in terms of guys for the bullpen. Getting Alexis Diaz from Cincinnati is a good start, but they need to do more. I imagine it's going to be very heavy pitching that they search for at the deadline. All the while, baseball will continue to be filled with salt at this rate. The San Diego Padres. Definitely not where they want to be, but overall still in a good position for the Padres. While recently they just broke out, they still have a lot more to do going forward. The core of Tatis Jr., Manny Machado, and Xander Bogaerts and Luis Arraez are continuing to be the shining pieces of San Diego. Jackson Merrill has been having an outstanding year to the point where he got a massive contract extension to be a key piece going forward. Elias Diaz, Gavin Sheets, and many more have been great supplementing pieces. Even better that they've been blessed with pitching as Dylan Cease has been back to his old form with Nick Pivetta and Michael King. Their bullpen is massively underrated as they make quick work of the back half of games to lock up them in a nice little bow. The big thing is they got to keep getting hot going into the dog days of summer. They are the first team on the cut line, and they don't want to be left out with other teams looking to usurp them if they slip up. Keep going, San Diego. Peter Seidler would be proud of you. The San Francisco Giants. There is one thing I keep forgetting about the Giants. They have this unique ability to look abysmal one year and a juggernaut the next. I can't explain it either, but it's just how it works. San Francisco underwent a massive leadership change under Buster Posey, and it is starting to pay off this year. Matt Chapman and Willie Adames have been outstanding for the contracts they were given. Jung-Ho Lee is picking up where he left off after missing a big portion of last year. The homegrown pieces in Ramos, Flores, and Yastrzemski have boomed. The pitching has been very underrated, with Logan Webb being a workhorse, Robbie Ray finding his Cy Young form, and a bullpen that is closing the doors on everything. This current run has led San Francisco to go bold with their quest and thinking that they are very close to getting to the doorstep of achieving their ultimate goal. Look to Beantown for their answer. Rafael Devers, their newest addition to help reclaim a World Series. While most likely to be a primary DH going forward, he should instantly boom to be an already potent hitter for that core. Even if they are ahead, I wouldn't get too comfortable if I were the Dodgers or Padres at this current moment. Objects are closer than they appear. So there you have it. We've finally gotten to the end of my rambling and going through all the teams in chaos throughout the MLB year. If you managed to stick around this far, I appreciate you. I really do. So now, here comes my ultimate jinxing and predicting which teams I think will and won't be left in the October Classic. The AL East, I think it's going to be the Yankees. I really do. It hates saying this from my bitter soul, but I think they are going to probably find ways to just get back to ripping that division and be competing in October. The AL Central, the Tigers, I think, have way too much of a lead to give up now. I think they're safe. As for the West, I think Astros still take it. I would like to see the Mariners usurp them, but I don't think it's happening. As for the 3 wildcard teams, Blue Jays, Mariners, Rays. As much as I'd love to see the Twins in there, I don't think they're going to get there. Sucks, but it is what it is. As for the National League, the East belongs to Philadelphia. The Central, North side, the Chicago Cubs will take it. The NL West, Dodgers, by default at this rate. As for the 3 wildcard teams, I'm rolling with the Brewers, Mets, and Padres. I would like to see some different teams maybe swap around in there, but I think those are the consensus ones. So there you have it. Hopefully, I will see my jinxes not bite me in the butt, but in the meantime, play ball, baby! Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I hope to see you guys next time. Peace!